Hey, welcome to Quick Story. My name is Joddie Taylor. For each podcast episode, I am going to be sharing, you guessed it, a quick story that is 10 minutes or less. I hope that you get a laugh or insight or learn something new. I would just love for you to get something you need from each podcast episode. Okay, are you ready? Let's get into it. Hey, this is Joddie Taylor. Quick story. Back in 2020, I had an extremely rough year, and that energy continued into 2021, and frankly beyond. In the summer of 2021, I wrote a story, essay, an article for a digital magazine. And it's a very true story and personal story, and I'd like to share it with you now. It's entitled, You Are Not Alone. So at the time that I wrote this was July 2021, and well, let's just get into it. A few weeks ago, I was standing in front of an apartment building and heard someone crying. It was loud and heartbreaking. It was late in the evening, and I was the only one on the block. After looking around and finally up, I saw a woman bawling. I wasn't sure what to do. She was standing in the privacy of her balcony, and I know from experience that sometimes one wants to cry in private. My first thought was, you are not alone. While I hesitated about whether or not I should shout that up to her, she walked into her apartment. Weeks later, I'm still thinking about her and sending her these words, you are not alone. In the past year, I've been the recipient of these types of loving thoughts and healing energy from other women, and it has uplifted me during a time of deep sadness and isolation. Sometimes it was an intangible gift of prayers or well wishes. Other times it was well-timed DMs, an hour or two of virtual co-working, snail mail, just because care packages, and social media comments that made me laugh out loud. The thoughts that I received made it easy for me to pass them on to another woman in need. You never know how your kind words, deeds, and even thoughts can help buoy someone else. If you are reading this and feeling alone, please remember you are not alone. There are so many women out here wishing you well, starting with me. So that's my story. This is actually the first time that I've read it out loud. It was difficult, as I suspected it would be. What I would add is I really can't convey how much these things meant to me. And this belief that I had then, and I still have that, sometimes, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, you just get like a pep of energy, or you feel like you've gone through a rough patch and somehow it was a bit smoother than it should have been. And in my case, especially back in 2020, having witnessed this firsthand and experienced it, I know it was just this intangible energy or thing or well wishes. Some of it was tangible, some of it was intangible, but it just held me up. And when I say held up, I felt like I was kind of floating, if you can imagine floating, or, walking when you feel like you don't have the energy to walk, but you're somehow getting through. And I believe it was the love and care of those around me. And I'll also add, if you're not a woman, this applies to you too. However you identify, I believe that there are folks out there sending you well wishes. Maybe you've seen someone standing, and this has actually happened more than once. I remember seeing a gentleman one day. I was walking through a park, and same thing. He was just crying, and he was on a phone, and he sort of walked away. I wouldn't have approached him because he was on a phone, but I just sent him so much love, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I hope everything's okay. Little did I know that shortly after that, probably a few weeks after that, my life turned upside down, and I can only imagine how I looked walking around, and again, I believe someone saw me and sent me some love, maybe many someones, because how else? How else would I have been able to carry on? So thank you to all the strangers out there, and thank you to those who know me. And I return the favor every chance I get on instinct. So again, you never know what folks are going through. Kind words and gestures mean the world. I know I have been having a rough day, and out of nowhere, someone's been like, here's this coffee, here's this snack, your hair looks amazing, whatever it is. And it's a teeny passing gesture or comment from them. And again, here I am floating, So that is my quick story. Thanks for listening. Be kind, ridiculously kind when you have no reason to, because you never know how it could change someone's day or maybe their life. You never know. So again, that's my quick story. Thank you for listening. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Quick Story with me, Joddie Taylor. I would love to connect. Do you have any questions for me? Would you like to say hello or perhaps leave a comment on this episode or any other episode? Yes? If so, please shoot me an email at joddie@snackysays.com. That's JODDIE@snackysays.com. You can also visit me online at joddie.substack.com. Both my email address and Substack information will be in the show notes, where you'll also find any resources mentioned during this episode. The last thing I want to leave you with is you have a story to tell. I hope you're telling it. Tell your story today.